Behold, all the mineral catchers I couldn't find last episode, all at once. Last episode, we ended with my character reaching level 45, so I'm going to start this episode with 2 bosses right away. These are the Iblis Guardian and the Mushmood. I will start doing the quest until I reach the one that requires me to hunt the Iblis Guardian. After turning it all in, I make my way towards the Iblis Temple. First, I hunt some Crashers, and then I fight the Guardian. The Iblis Guardian is much like a giant, but he is significantly stronger, having both more HP and a lot more attack. He won't pose much of a problem for Lianshu though, as his berserk power is only 50% instead of the insane 200% that the last boss had. He also has multiple different area attacks rather than just the one that most giants have, but I should be able to tank one of those anyway, especially since he is a fire type and I still have water on my suit. I'm fighting him during the weather event, so I have a little bit more HP than usual, but I really don't need it. After he's dealt with, I prepare for my fight with the Mushmood by doing the quest. I've received buffs from a nice player, but since I'm fighting the bosses alone without any help, I'm going to die and respawn to reset my buffs. I jump off the edge of the map so I won't lose experience. Now that that's all set, I enter the dungeon. The first thing I notice is a giant Liana. He is 10 levels higher than me, but I'm up for the challenge. I get pretty close to killing him, but after he berserks his damage is quite high. I run away from his area attack, but Lianshu turns around for one last attack and dies. After I've respawned, I head back to the dungeon entrance, but the dungeon is already closed, so I will need to wait until the next morning to try again. The next day I enter the dungeon again and I fight Liana again. I succeed this time, but it is very close. There is a second Liana, but there wouldn't be much value in beating that one as well, so I continue without fighting it. I then run into a giant driller, which feels kind of out of place here. If you're 15 levels below a monster, your damage is reduced by more than 99%, so I simply walk past. I then fight the Mushmood, who funnily enough is the lowest level monster in here. And this turned out to be a very difficult fight. Just like Big Muscle and the Cur, the Mushmood is immune to Moonbeam, so I can't just kill it with Guizo. But he can also give himself various buffs, which reduce the damage he takes from Lianshu's attacks by quite a lot. He also drastically lowers my attack speed and constantly summons small mush boys, which are only level 36, but he does spawn a lot of them. The only saving grace here is that the small mush boys are not immune to Moonbeam, so Guizo can kill them while Lianshu attacks the boss. I fight him for a while, but my current DPS is just too low to kill him within an hour. The Mushmood has 675k HP. He can heal himself for 30% of his HP once, but he also often heals himself for like 1k, which really adds up if the fight goes on for a long time. So I leave and come back when I have more DPS. Time to work on my gear. I currently have 3 Damel earrings plus 3, and I only need 2, so I simply start upgrading them until one of them gets destroyed. I end up with 2 Damels plus 5, which is a nice upgrade. I then buy a Flam Sword. This is a fairly strong sword, it comes with 10% hit rate. I also buy a Wedge helmet and boots for Guizdo, so we get some more int at a low price. I hunt a few more violets to make some money. With the money I buy a Pangreal set. It's a shame that I have to buy another complete set, when I'm so close to using the Clockwork set that I bought earlier. But I need to do more damage now. The biggest problem is that I have very low attack speed against the Mushmood. Because of the debuff I'm only left at 40% or so. If I can increase this to 60, my DPS will increase by 50%. And I will also become a lot tankier because my current suit is only for level 15. I want to upgrade my sword to plus 5, the set to plus 4 and also put earth plus 4 on my suit. For this I'll need a lot of materials. With the money I made from the violets I buy an ultra collector. It's a bit expensive but my current collector only collects 50 materials per kill, so I will earn this money back very quickly. This is such a huge improvement. I've finished doing all the upgrades and I'm ready to try again tomorrow. The next morning I arrive at the Mushmood again, and this time my damage is a lot higher, and I'm also a lot tankier. I average about 3 times the DPS that I did yesterday, so it is pretty smooth sailing. I just focus on healing and using Moonbeam on the small mush boys. I do wonder if there is a way to interrupt him casting the buffs and heal on himself. I tried a couple of things yesterday, but I couldn't find anything that worked. As is tradition in these, Guizdo dies at the end. However, for the first time it wasn't because I wasn't paying attention. The boss stuns Guizdo and immediately lands a berserk critical hit on him, killing him almost instantly. I could only have lived this with very good food or pills. I defeat the Mushmood and he drops a lot of quest items and a few power dice. Now that the bosses are behind me, I continue leveling up through questing all the way to level 48. The slower approach to the game makes it really visible how much my characters have grown. At the start of episode 2, Lian Chu only dealt 110 damage per hit, and he missed almost all of his attacks. Now he kills monsters pretty fast despite being full stamina. Speaking of which, I will put the rest of my points into strength from now on, as there are no bosses until level 60 that are harder than the ones I've already beaten. My travels then take me to Darkham 1, a wasteland full of mechanical monsters. Here, I will grind until I'm strong enough to undertake the job quest. There are 2 bosses in this area that are on the list. We will visit one of them later this episode. I start by doing some grinding at Steamwalkers. While leveling there, an acrobat asks me to party up. I decide to let him join, because why not? They are AoEing, so I collect a lot of mobs and we kill them together. Even though the acrobat is not fully aware yet of how monsters change aggro when you attack before the tank has stopped moving. They don't stay very long, however. I was already planning on doing AoE leveling once I could wear the clockwork set, but I might as well do it now. Around this time I also start to finally make some money from selling my drops to the NPCs. Once I have enough experience, I teleport to St. Morning and turn in the missing scripts quest to hit level 50. Now that I'm level 50, I can continue with the Rionan questline. The first one requires me to defeat Lord Thwankfoma. He is level 55, so I don't have to fight him just yet, but my characters are pretty strong, so I decided to do it now. Lord Thwankfoma isn't very special, but he is very strong. He can recover HP and he can berserk, and he will have 25% more attack against me, because I fight him at a 5 level disadvantage. As usual, I have Lian Chu tank him while keeping a safe distance with Guizhou. Eventually, he gets Lian Chu with a special area attack, because he stopped for one more auto attack after I started moving. Guisto would have been able to survive for long enough to get a res off, but he immediately uses his area attack again, so Guisto is casting. Once I get back for the second attempt, I see that his HP hasn't reset, so I just continue where I left off. I kill him shortly after. I then do the rest of the Rionen questline. I can already wear the Shamutra helm, which helps me a lot since I'm now AoEing by myself. I also do the Rise's Catacombs questline, and my characters level up to 51 and 52 while doing these. I can now also equip the Shamutra boots and gauntlets. These allow me to AoE a lot more monsters at once, which I do to get some extra experience. Along the way I finally find a stick with moonbeam damage on it. I also had a run-in with the giant Steel Knight. A nice Ringmaster player helped me kill him. I hadn't thought about it at the time, but the Steel Giant is a wind type, which the Shamutra gear does not protect against. And I also have earth on my suit, so I even had negative wind resistance, which explains how he was able to kill me once. But I do defeat him in the end. Once I have enough experience, I teleport to St. Morning to do the next step in the Iblis Temple questline, which levels me up to 53. I can now wear the entire Shamutra set. I upgrade the remaining parts with the Sprolos that I still had, and I get lucky enough not to fail once. I also upgrade my suit to Earth +4, as I'm planning to do most of my grinding to 60 at Volts. Now it's time for my next target, the giant Wheelum. The Wheelum is an extremely strong giant. I would bet that very few people have ever killed it without overleveling it. Wheelums deal their damage twice with every attack, effectively doubling their damage output. The monsters on Coral Island also hit twice with each attack, but they have 40% less attack to compensate for this, which actually makes them easier to tank, because your defense, block and parry work on both hits individually. This guy, however, hits you for the full damage twice. He also has no noteworthy drops, so there's no incentive to kill him. However, this fight's a complete cakewalk. Lianchu's defense is now insane for this level. On top of the defense, there's 34% elemental resistances on the armor. This also means that elemental suit upgrading is more effective. Getting another 8% electricity resistance on top of already having 34% lowers the damage I take by 12% instead of 8. Needless to say, this is the least trouble any boss has given me so far. While I'm in town, I spot an ancient shield with 8% water resistance on it for 1 million. I already have an ancient shield, but this deal is too good to pass up. Having an elemental resistance shield, on top of getting it from my set, and on top of getting it from my suit upgrade, allows for some insane damage reduction, and I might not be able to buy this again later. I then do some grinding at Volts. They're a much higher level than me, but my electricity resistance allows me to AoE quite a lot of them already. I grind there until I hit level 55. At level 55, it is time to hunt the next boss, the Iblis Quaker. He has quite a lot of HP and his attack is very high for a monster below level 60. This increases even further when he falls below 20% HP. But Lianshu is so strong now that I don't expect many problems. Now that Lianshu also deals respectable DPS, and Grizo has a Moonbeam Awakening, her damage output is a lot higher. The Quaker has a very big area attack that charges up really fast. This means that as per tradition, Grizo dies. I kept my distance with him, but the attack is so massive that it hits him anyway. Because it charges up so fast, the only good way to dodge this is to stand right underneath the Quaker and walk past him once he starts casting it. Lianshu finishes the Quaker by himself, and he drops pretty much nothing other than a Ruby of Anger, which I think is used to fight the Iblis Leans later. Now that that's dealt with, I finish up the Rise's Catacombs questline, which gives a lot of experience. I buy some cheap Strenties for when I hit level 58. I also spotted a Dreadra sword for 500k, which is a very good price. At 57 I realized that I can also AoE Elder Guards quite nicely, since they're water types and I can now wield the Ancient Shield with water resistance on it. After I waste some time killing a giant Elder Guard, I start with a massive pool that I can barely even tank, but I do manage to clear it. I grind to level 58 and then equip my strengthies. They increase the damage of my special hit by about 10%. After hitting 59 it's time for a break, so I try to upgrade my Dreadra to +5. But I get really unlucky and fail the 80% chance twice, losing me 2 Sprolos in the process. I leave it as +4 and will finish it later. I also do the last Iblis Temple quest, as it's free experience. The quest requires me to kill another Iblis Guardian, which is extremely easy at this point, since it's only level 45. In PC5, this quest was for level 45 as well. The Iblis Temple quests were spread out a lot more in 5 universe. This is probably so they wouldn't all come at the same time as the Rionen questline. But having to kill monsters 13 levels below you is kind of weird. With this quest being for level 58, it would have made more sense if it had required you to kill the Quaker instead. I also defeat this guy because he was having a giggle. Now I just need to get to level 60. I continue grinding at Elder Guards, which I can now AoE a lot more comfortably. While I'm there I find some wedge gauntlets for Guizdo. That's it for this episode. I will start with the job quests in the next one. All the upgrades that I did this episode are really noticeable. Lian Chu transitioned from only being a tank to being very capable of dealing damage on his own. I'm excited to become a knight in the next episode. See you there.